Superficial analysis. Go beyond summary to critical evaluation. In writing Chapter 2, Review of Related Literature, a common mistake researchers make is providing a superficial analysis, simply summarizing studies without critically engaging with them. A strong literature review does more than list past research. It critically evaluates studies, identifying strengths, weaknesses, gaps, and contradictions to establish a clear foundation for the current study. A superficial analysis weakens the literature review by failing to demonstrate depth of understanding and critical thinking. Instead of simply stating what a study found, a well-crafted review interprets, compares, contrasts, and synthesizes research findings to build a strong argument. This section explains why superficial analysis is problematic, provides examples of weak versus strong literature reviews, and offers strategies for deep critical evaluation in Chapter 2 writing. What is superficial analysis in a literature review? A superficial analysis occurs when a literature review only summarizes research findings without questioning their validity, reliability, or relevance. It lacks critical engagement with sources, comparisons and contrasts between studies, examination of research methodologies, discussion of limitations and research gaps. A superficial review merely describes what researchers have found, rather than analyzing how their work contributes to the field. A. Example of a superficial. Literature Review Smith, 2020, found that online learning improves student engagement. Brown, 2021, also studied online learning and found that students performed well academically. Garcia, 2022, explored challenges in digital education and found motivation to be a key issue. What is wrong with this? It only lists findings, without showing relationships. It does not evaluate the study's strengths and weaknesses. It fails to explain how these studies relate to the research topic. B. Example of a strong analytical literature review, Smith, 2020, found that online learning improves student engagement, particularly in discussion-based courses. However, Brown, 2021, noted that while engagement may increase, academic performance depends on the student's self-discipline. This contrasts with Garcia's 2022 findings, which suggest that motivation issues significantly impact student success in digital learning environments. These conflicting results highlight the need for further research into how different instructional strategies affect online student performance. Why is this better? It compares findings rather than listing them. It identifies contradictions between studies. It explains the need for further research based on gaps. Why superficial analysis weakens? Chapter 2a, Weak Literature Review filled with superficial summaries leads to A. Lack of depth. Without critical engagement, the literature review reads like a book report instead of an analytical discussion. Readers fail to see how studies build on each other, or how they support the research problem. B. Missed opportunities to identify gaps. The goal of a literature review is to find what has not been studied. A mere summary does not highlight missing perspectives in existing research. C. Weak theoretical justification. If past studies are not critically evaluated, it becomes difficult to justify the research approach. A critical review explains why certain methods, models, or frameworks are useful for the current study. 3. Strategies to go beyond. Superficial analysis to strengthen Chapter 2. Researchers must go beyond summary and engage in critical evaluation. Below are key strategies to ensure depth and analysis. A. Compare and contrast studies show relationships between research findings. Identify agreements, contradictions, and evolving perspectives. Example. While Johnson, 2019, found that technology enhances classroom engagement, Rodriguez, 2021, reported that excessive screen time may reduce deep learning. These contrasting findings suggest that the effectiveness of technology in education depends on how it is integrated into learning environments. This creates a meaningful discussion instead of a list of findings. B. Evaluate research methodologies. Ask, was the research method appropriate? Identify limitations, sample size, bias, outdated data. Discuss how methods impact findings. Example: while Carter, 2020, surveyed 500 high school students on social media use, Lee, 2021, conducted in-depth interviews with 20 students. The difference in sample size and methodology suggests that Lee's findings provide deeper insights into individual experiences, whereas Carter's study offers broader trends. This evaluates the reliability of findings. C. Highlight strengths and weaknesses of studies. What did a study do well? What were its limitations? Example: Miller's 2018 study on leadership development is widely cited as it provides a strong theoretical framework. However, its findings are based on a small sample of corporate managers, limiting its applicability to educational settings. This shows both contributions and gaps in research. D. Identify research gaps. What has not been studied? What? Questions remain unanswered. Example: while previous studies have explored digital learning among college students, few have examined how online education affects working professionals in vocational training programs. This study aims to fill that gap by analyzing the experiences of adult learners in technical courses. This justifies the need for the current research. E. Synthesize information using tables and diagrams. Use tables to compare findings, methodologies, and research gaps. Use diagrams, conceptual frameworks, models, to illustrate relationships between studies. Example: table for comparing studies. Study focus methodology findings. Imitation Smith, 2020. Online learning engagement surveys. IORT, N 300 increased engagement. Short study duration Brown, 2021. Student performance experimental mixed results. No long-term tracking. Garcia, 2022. Motivation challenges, interviews, N for 30. Motivation issues impact success. Small sample size. This helps organize critical evaluation while maintaining depth. Checklist for avoiding superficial analysis. Before finalizing Chapter 2, ask: have I compared and contrasted studies? Have I evaluated research methodologies? Have I identified strengths and weaknesses? Have I discussed research gaps? Have I synthesized information instead of listing findings? If yes, the literature review moves beyond superficial analysis. Conclusion: strengthening. Chapter 2. Through critical evaluation, to write a strong literature review, researchers must go beyond summary and engage in deep analysis. By comparing studies, evaluating methodologies, identifying gaps, and synthesizing findings, Chapter 2 becomes a well-structured, insightful foundation for research. Final tip: avoid writing a book report. Instead, aim to create a critical discussion that highlights key research developments and gaps in the field. If you find this content helpful, subscribe to stay updated on the next tips for writing Chapter 2. Feel free to comment below with topics you'd like us to cover in future content. Thank you!